All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Balance's webinar titled Meal Planning in Eating Disorder Recovery. We started in just a few minutes. Thank you for logging on today. And to learn more about this topic, just by logging on, you're taking the time and putting some energy into learning about yourself and getting some support. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit it through the Q&A feature, and we will be answering questions during the webinar. Now, I'd like to introduce you to our webinar leader, Ximena. She is one of our fabulous registered dietitians at Balance.
Thanks, Taylor, for the intro, and welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Like Taylor said, my name is Ximena, and I'm one of the dietitians here at Balance. So today we're going to be talking about meal planning, and this is an important topic and one that I believe a lot of our clients get nervous about, and it's sometimes a barrier to getting treatment because it can be a scary thing. So today we're going to try to break down kind of what meal planning is, what it looks like, and answer any questions you might have. So let's get to it. There we go. So what is a meal plan? Let's start with basic questions. So a meal plan serves as a framework to sort of regularize, if you will, our clients' eating patterns. And what I mean by regularize, we usually our clients, when they start treatment with us or when they're starting their recovery process, their eating is kind of, it's not very regular, to use the word again, but it's kind of a little erratic perhaps. And we want to try to use our biology or innate eating habits to kind of get our eating habits back on track. So we use it as a framework. It's a more structured eating plan, but we don't want to make it a strict way of a strict diet that you have to follow to a T. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. And it kind of provides a map so that we can better understand what our internal and biological cues are saying. Because often what we see with our clients is that when they start their recovery process, they're usually not connected to those biological cues that tell us when we're hungry or when we're full. So this a meal plan can help us reconnect to those cues so that we can feel more intuitive with eating. And it also helps meet our clients' dietary needs. Like I said, sometimes our clients aren't usually eating throughout the day, regularly throughout the day. So and perhaps aren't getting all the nutrition that they need. So this way we are able to make sure that our clients are getting nourished properly throughout the day. What is it not? So it's not a diet, like I said. We are not often in diets, what we see in society and in our cultures, often meal plans are kind of seen as diets, or they're promoted as diets in a way, like follow this meal plan strictly. And that's really not what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a meal plan more flexible so that it can fit into your lifestyle, not our clients fit into a meal plan or what we want them to follow. It's not a strict set of unwavering rules. We do work with our clients to some extent so that we are listening to their preferences, and we don't want to make it so that you have to eat this food. We want it so that our clients can also have a say in what they're eating, so that when their treatment is over, they can go on with their lives and kind of trust and have confidence in their choices. And again, this plan is not, it doesn't tell you exactly what foods you have to eat. We kind of give you the basic framework, and the clients get to choose what they want to put into it, especially once this is kind of it's a recovery process. So we work on it throughout the recovery process. So what is the goal? I hope you guys can see the title over there. So what is the goal with following a meal plan. So we want to normalize eating patterns. And what do I mean by that? Biologically, we are wired to eat throughout the day. And so often our clients aren't doing that. And so we want to help them normalize those eating patterns. Everyone's eating patterns can be different. We're all unique and different, and we have different needs. But overall, we all need to re-energize ourselves throughout the day. So that's what a meal plan is aiming to do, to kind of normalize those eating patterns. Neutralize your relationship with food. This is so difficult for a lot of us, and especially with our clients, they have a really difficult time sometimes just seeing food as fuel, as energy that we need to go throughout our day. Because and it's understandable given the society we live in, where food is demonized and everyone says, oh, this is good or this is bad. So it's really difficult sometimes to look at food just as food. So we work on that. Dietitians work with their clients to kind of normalize that relationship with food so that it doesn't have that connotation. We also want to work on nutritional rehabilitation. What do I mean by that? Our clients sometimes, as they've been struggling with their eating disorder, often because they're not getting enough nutrients or enough nutrients that their body needs, sometimes maybe some systems in their body or whatever are not working to their full potential. So with nutritional rehabilitation, we're working on rebuilding those tissues, those organs, those systems that may have been affected through the eating disorder so that they can work at 100%. Weight restoration. So I put it with an asterisk because not everyone needs weight restoration during their recovery process. Some do, some don't. So that is something that our clients assess with their dietitians. And we see if that is part of your recovery process. Do we need some weight restoration so that your body can be working at 100%? And I know this is often a scary point for a lot of clients. And we'll get into a little more later. Legalize foods. That again goes along with the idea of neutralizing your relationship with food and not making foods good or bad. We want all foods to be acceptable and to be part of a healthy diet. And we want you to not have any strong negative or emotions around food. Again, just legalize foods and see it as food, as fuel for your day. And the meal plan is an adaptable plan that helps us become more intuitive with eating. So what I mean by that is it's just a more natural way of eating and you don't have to think about it so much. So in the beginning, having a meal plan might seem very structured and, oh, I have to follow this. But over time, as it becomes more normalized and more ingrained, hopefully the goal is that it'll become you'll feel more what's the word I'm looking for, just it becomes more adaptable, and so you can kind of make changes according to what you need and what you like. So who is a meal plan for? A meal plan is for anyone recovering from an eating disorder, and it's helpful. It's a helpful tool for all eating disorders, and it's a tool. Like I mentioned, it's not something, and we'll get into this later. It's not necessarily something you have to adhere to the rest of your life, and it's not. We don't want to make it something that's super strict, but it's there as a tool. It can also be for anyone struggling with any disordered eating or who's been stuck on kind of yo-yo dieting. It's useful at all ages. Doesn't matter what age you are. And also it can provide a framework for if we are working with adolescents or young adults and the parents are involved, it can serve as a framework for the parents and the caregivers who sometimes want to be involved, want to support their loved ones, and they don't know what to do. So providing this meal plan kind of gives them a structure, a framework of what they can be doing at home and how can they be helping their kids. So what does a meal plan look like? I know this is often one of the first questions clients want to know, or they might be nervous to know what a meal plan looks like. And I want to start by saying that everyone's meal plan will look different because everyone's needs are different, and also it's important to note that throughout the recovery process, the meal plan will, I'm 99% sure, will change throughout the process. So this is adaptable, and and it will change from person to person. It's based on the 3 macronutrients, and what I mean by macronutrients, these are the main building blocks. We have carbohydrates, protein, and fat, and then we also have fruits and vegetables. But those 3 are the main building blocks, and we need carbohydrates for energy. That's the main energy source that our body uses. So we need carbohydrates. We need protein as a building block for our bodies and to rebuild tissue and muscles. Protein is very important, and fat is also very important. So our brain is functioning well, our skin is looking nice, and our hormones are working properly. So those are the main building blocks that we kind of use for the framework. And like I mentioned, everyone's meal plan will look different, and these are based on your unique traits and characteristics and your needs. So it's not an exact science. As much as we all want a concrete, specific answer, this is not an exact science. So we kind of usually have a general range of what we estimate your needs might be, what your needs might look like, but this changes throughout the recovery process. And so the clients work with their dietitian to kind of find that sweet spot and see what your needs truly are. And I will say that usually most of our clients, if not all of our clients, their meal plans, like I mentioned, do change throughout the recovery process. Again, it's flexible and adaptable because our needs do change, especially as our bodies start working again. Our metabolism speeds up and our body starts working 100%. Our needs change. So we want to keep that in mind. And typically, what a meal plan looks like is 3 meals a day and snacks in between. And I know this is, for many clients, this is very scary because they might not be doing this right now. So seeing this, us telling our clients this can be very scary, and it's absolutely something that we support our clients through, and it's something that we work towards. It might not necessarily be how you start, but it is something that we're working towards. And this is not just a number that we came up with and we're like, oh, we think this is a good idea. This is based on biology and kind of what our bodies need and how frequently our liver needs to be refueled. So it's based on biology. So can't see that. So how are meal plans done at Balance specifically? So the goal at Balance, our goal is for our clients to become intuitive eaters. And what do I mean by intuitive eaters? It's when we're an intuitive eater, we're in tune with our hunger and fullness cues and our internal cues. This is something we're all born with. It's not something that we have to learn, but I will say sometimes we have to relearn it, because from all the messages we're getting from society and just how we've been educated, we often lose track of that intuition, that intuitive eater that we were born with. So often we need to relearn to be intuitive eaters. So the goal is that hopefully with the meal plan, we can start getting back in tune with that intuitive eater so that eating just feels natural and it's not a chore, or it doesn't feel scary. It's just a natural need. So at Balance, we don't focus on calories, and we don't rely on strict exchanges. So we want to keep meal plans flexible, and we try not to. Exchanges is typically what many treatment centers use, because it can be hard to tell clients what to eat. So it can be an easier way to give meal plans. But we see that often when clients are following strict exchanges, as their treatment finishes, they go on and still are so focused on those exchanges, on following or a certain amount of calories, and it's almost becomes another diet. So we really try to stay away from numbers and try to make it a little more intuitive, because as I mentioned, the ultimate goal is to become intuitive eaters. So that is, so what do we use instead? What we use is modified exchanges. That's the term we've kind of come up with. So what does modified exchange look like? They're exchanges, and exchanges are groups, a group, a carbohydrate, a protein, a fat. That's what I mean when I'm talking about exchanges, those building blocks of our meals. So a modified exchange is an exchange that is more in tune or more in line with what a real meal size looks like. And we are trying not to be strict with portions. We are trying to kind of eyeball portions. And it's something we teach, we teach our clients. It's not something we expect everyone to know. It is a learning process, and it can take some time to get in tune with that. Because we don't, the idea is that when our clients are done with treatment or working with us, we want them to be able to go to a restaurant with their friends or to a meal with family and not have to think, oh, okay, I need to bring my measuring tools or whatever. We want it to be more natural and be able to kind of look at your plate and say, this will be enough. Or if it's not, maybe, once you're done, you can serve yourself more, or whatever that might be, whatever that might look like. So we want to make it a little more so that our clients are comfortable with portions. And it's very important for us to listen to our clients' preferences and their dietary needs. So we take those into consideration, because it is, it is our clients' process. And of course, we want to listen to what your preferences are, because it's going to be much harder if we're not having the things that you like in your diet, in your meal plan. So we absolutely listen to your preferences. The meal plan, again, I've talked about this a lot. Meal plans are flexible, and they may and will likely change as your needs change throughout the recovery process. Obviously, and throughout life, our changes will need. If you think about it, when you were a kid, your needs are not the same as your needs today. So your changes will change throughout life and throughout your recovery process. Let's see if I can move this. So let's get to some of the questions that we often get when we bring up the conversation of meal plans. One of these questions is, will I need to follow this meal plan the rest of my life? And the answer is that once you become intuitive with food, once you are in tune with your intuitive eater, you'll be more comfortable deciding what's right for you. When our clients start their recovery process, this is usually really scary, and they feel like they're going to have to follow their meal plan the rest of their life. But it is a process, and we aim towards the end of our treatment or recovery process that food is just again, more intuitive, just more natural, and that you can make those healthy decisions for yourself. So we do find, our clients sometimes find that actually those eating patterns that they developed with the meal plan actually really work for them throughout their life. And it's okay to adapt it as you go. And again, I mentioned, these meal plans are based on biology as much as possible, and as much as they're based on how often your liver kind of needs to be refueled and have that energy bumped up. So that's kind of what we're following, to have those regular meals. But as your recovery process comes to an end, we always tell our clients, take what works, and you can also adapt what doesn't work for you. It's to make it something that does work for you. So again, some clients will continue to follow something that's similar to their meal plan, and some people might change it up a bit. So sorry, you can't see this. So will following a meal plan make me gain weight? And this is probably the biggest question we get, and we understand a lot of our clients that come in are really, really concerned about gaining weight. And it is, like I mentioned in the beginning, one of the biggest barriers to getting recovery sometimes, because they're afraid of what might happen. And that's completely understandable. And the answer is that it depends. Some people's weight might change, some people's might not. And we aren't able to see in the future and see how your body is going to respond. But it's really, it varies from person to person. And we also want to take into consideration, is weight restoration an important part of your recovery? So if this is something that, weight restoration is something that is necessary for your body to be functioning properly, perhaps this is something we need to consider. And so maybe weight restoration is in your plan, and is something that we will assess when we're preparing a meal plan. Move this back up. It's in the way. So the goal when we're talking about following a meal plan is to approach your set point range. And what do I mean by that? We all have a weight range that we are born with. This is not something that we can control or change. This is something we're born with. So we don't necessarily know. We don't know what your set point range is once our clients start working with us. So the dietitians work with our clients to find that set point range. And how we do that, we see when it's usually at a point where our bodies just naturally want to gravitate towards. When you're eating normally, and what I mean by that is following your hunger and fullness cues. When you're able to follow those biological cues, usually our bodies just gravitate to that set point range that we were born with. And we also work, if weight restoration is part of your recovery process, then we work on steady weight restoration versus abrupt changes. So we really want to make it a slow process. So what can you start doing right now? So aim to have more regular meals throughout the day. This is something that I've been bringing up throughout the presentation when talking about normalizing eating patterns. So eating regularly throughout the day. You might be asking yourself, well, what does that look like? I have no idea. And that's perfectly fine. And again, everyone is unique and different. So this might look different for everyone, but in general, eating every 3 to 4 hours, eating something. It doesn't have to be a meal, it can be a snack. Eating something every 3 to 4 hours is usually a general guideline. And that again is kind of based on biology. Also something that if you decide to work with a dietitian, something that you can discover as well. Aim to include those 3 building blocks, carbs, protein, and fat in all your meals. Maybe, you're including 2 of these in most of your meals, but one of them you are avoiding or it's really hard for you. Maybe that's something you can start working towards, having those 3 building blocks in your meals. Maybe plan a few meals ahead of time. Sometimes, you're busy, you're working, and it gets really difficult for you to plan a meal or plan a meal that has all 3 of those components. So maybe on the weekend, when you have more time, you can plan ahead and make a few meals that do have those 3 components. If this is really difficult, and it is for many of our clients, you can ask for support either from a loved one or a friend or a therapist or whoever, counselor, whoever it might be, someone who you trust and you feel comfortable with. Maybe they can support you during a meal, or maybe you decide that you're going to go to the grocery store and get whatever one of those macronutrients, a carb, a protein, or fat that you haven't been including, and maybe it's really hard for you to actually go buy one. So maybe you ask for some help, ask for some support. Have a variety of foods available at home. Sometimes it makes it very difficult to, we tell ourselves, oh, I'm not going to have this food in my house because I can't have it at home. It's creating that good or bad foods that we want to legalize those foods. So how do we legalize foods? The first one step that we can take is actually having that food at home. This can be very scary, but if you've been craving something recently and you've been thinking about it and you've been telling yourself, no, I need to be good, so I'm not going to have it. Well, maybe you give yourself permission to have that food at home and see what happens, what that feels like. This can be a difficult step to take. So sometimes it is easier to have it maybe with a loved one or some support. It is something that we work on with our clients, absolutely, because it is very difficult. Try to incorporate more nutrient-dense foods. So what do I mean by that? Sometimes, foods that incorporate those macronutrients, the carbs, the protein, the fat, because sometimes when we're not having those 3 food groups or those 3 components, that are not as nutrient dense, then we might be constantly snacking because we're not really satisfied. So incorporating those 3 foods, those 3 building blocks, can really make us feel more satiated, and also it gives us the nutrients that our body needs. And reach out for professional support. This can be really, really difficult, but often our clients say it's the best thing that they've done. And taking that first step is the hardest thing to do, but really getting some professional support from a counselor, a therapist, a dietitian, whoever it might be, can be really helpful. So I will open it up to questions. We have a little time left, so we can discuss if we have any questions. And Taylor, you're on mute, just letting you know.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so one of the first questions we have is, are vitamins and supplements needed when following the meal plan regularly?
That's a great question. So that really, again, depends from person to person. So sometimes we do recommend that our clients have a certain supplement, and that's specific from client to client. But sometimes we do recommend supplement vitamins during the recovery process, but that is something that we assess with the dietitian. But absolutely, the idea is that hopefully following our meal plan will also be varied and will include a lot of different vitamins and minerals that we need. So we will get that array of nutrients. But yes, that is something that our clients discuss with their dietitians.
Okay. All right. So have you heard of plate by plate approach? What do you think of this, as it teaches balance, etc.? It was designed for kids, but I have used it with adults and it seems to work well.
Yeah, the plate by plate approach is really great. And I've definitely heard about it of it. I think sometimes, the idea of the modified exchanges that we use is somewhat in line with that idea of trying to use the plate by plate approach is basically filling your plate with the different foods. And I think for some people, it really works. We often find that our clients want a little more structure, especially in the beginning, when they're starting their recovery process. So that's why we try to give a little more structure, but not too much structure where we're giving numbers and whatnot, because that can get really confusing and can kind of be harmful in the long run in terms of recovery. But yes, the plate by plate approach sometimes can be something that we can use after, towards the end of the recovery process, if it feels more intuitive, because it does mesh well with the idea of becoming an intuitive eater.
Okay. Do you ever recommend clients measure portions if they tend to underserve themselves?
That's a great question, and it absolutely happens frequently, especially now that we're doing things virtually. It can be really difficult to know what, and clients often have questions about this, and they say, am I doing this right? Am I doing too much, too little? I don't know. So it can be really difficult. Often what we encourage to start off with when they're starting their recovery process is perhaps say, let's start by measuring, see what that looks like. Let's not do this every time, but maybe that in the beginning, in order to get an idea of what this looks like, let's measure this, and then we kind of eyeball it. Because yes, it can be really difficult to just out of the blue be like, oh, this is correct, especially like I said, when we're doing this, a lot of our work right now is virtual. So absolutely, in the beginning, sometimes measuring can be helpful, but the ultimate goal is to not be measuring our food, so that when we go back out and about and live our lives, we're not taking our measuring cups everywhere we go.
Can you talk more about Balance's modified exchanges?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, the idea is we don't want to give our clients specific numbers, because if we give numbers, our clients will remember those numbers for sure. And they will never forget those numbers for the rest of their lives. And they will have reactions when they overserve or underserve. And we want to make our meals as normal as possible. So sometimes we will have a little more, sometimes we will have a little less. That is part of what we call quote unquote normal eating. So the modified exchange, the idea is that we kind of eyeball the amount we served and figure out, does this look appropriate for my meal? Sometimes, and it's not perfect, and this is often what's the hardest for our clients, because we want to have a specific concrete answer. We want to know, is this amount exactly right? And it's part of learning just be a little more flexible. That is, I guess, the ultimate goal, is to be more flexible with our meals while making sure that we are getting all the nutrients that we need. Anything else that I can say? So, and along with that, it's trying to follow what a real meal might look like when we're out in a restaurant with friends or whatever, so that we don't have to think about those numbers.
What is the recommendation for exercise during a meal plan?
Great question. Definitely one that our clients always want to know. So that is something that's specific for our clients. And one person might have one recommendation, another one might have another one. So I can't give a straight answer for that, because it is something that our clients assess with their dietitians. And it also might change during the recovery process. So, and to go along with that, if movement or exercise is part of something that you want to incorporate into your daily life, we might make some adjustments to your meal plan accordingly. So it is something that we absolutely want to keep in mind.
How much time do you spend in sessions doing nutrition education, and do you recommend any handouts or resources to help assist with this education?
Absolutely. So in our sessions with clients, all our sessions are really depend on what's going on with the client in the moment. So we don't have a certain topic we're going to discuss for sure. We kind of go with the flow and see what's happening with the client that week or that day or whatnot. We might have certain topics that we want to discuss, but it's really individual, and what one client is working through or struggling with might be very different from what someone else is struggling with. And also the moment in your recovery process, the education that we're giving is very different in the beginning than the end. And in terms of how much nutrition education I'm giving or the dietitian is giving really varies, because sometimes a session might be all about just listening to what's going on in your life right now, listening to what's coming up for you. And maybe another session is mostly nutrition education, because there's a topic that the client is really interested in. And so we're delving into it and we're learning more about that topic. So usually there's a little bit of both in there, but it really varies from person to person. And in terms of handouts that we give, I don't, to be honest, I don't have one handout that I give to everyone. So it really, again, depends on what that client is going through.
At what point in the process does a meal plan get developed for a client?
Absolutely, great question. So usually we start in the beginning, and this may, like I mentioned, I kind of emphasize throughout the presentation, the meal plan will likely change, but we kind of start with the bare bones, the skeleton of the meal plan from the beginning. Maybe not necessarily the initial session, because it can sometimes be very overwhelming for our clients to just have a meal plan thrown at your face. So it really depends on where the client is at. But usually in the first or second, in the first few, let's say, sessions, we're going to share that meal plan. And we might make adjustments and changes throughout, but just giving that framework to start off. And the reason why we do that is because often what our clients come in and say, well, tell me what I should be eating, tell me what I should be doing. So, and often, like I mentioned, we want answers, we want straight answers right away. So this is kind of gives a framework that our clients can work with. Hopefully that answered the question.
How do you track micronutrient intake in creating meal plans?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So micronutrients are very important. Usually we find that the most important thing for most of our clients is to start focusing on the macronutrients. And micronutrients are, for people who aren't aware, that these are the vitamins and minerals. So vitamins and minerals are very important, but the main building blocks for our recovery are the carbohydrates, the protein, and the fat. So those are the most important. And like I mentioned in the presentation, it's not like we're ignoring fruits and vegetables. That's usually where we get the most concentration of micronutrients, from fruits and vegetables, although we do get vitamins and minerals from the other macronutrients, the carbohydrates, the protein, and the fat. We do find those in there. But usually when we refer to micronutrients, most people are thinking of fruits and vegetables. So we do incorporate these into the meal plan. It's not like we just ignore them, but we often find that our clients have a harder time with the macronutrients, the carbs, the fat, the protein, than the micronutrients, the fruits and the vegetables. So that's why the bigger emphasis is on the macronutrients. But we do keep track, and we work with our clients' doctors and other providers to make sure that their blood work is looking okay as well.
All right, so we have time for just one more question. So how do you work with clients who prefer to be vegan or vegetarian, and what becomes restrictive and what is not?
Absolutely, yes. So we do have clients that are vegetarian or vegan, and actually, if you're interested, we do have, I believe, another webinar coming up on veganism specifically. I'm not sure what date, but I have that in my mind. But we do work with clients that are vegetarian or follow a vegan diet, and often we have to be a little more pay a little more attention specifically to protein needs and just what their preferences are. And can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so how do you work with clients who prefer vegan and vegetarian options?
Absolutely. And we also want to see, if this is something that perhaps, was it a recent development, or were you born? I mean, a lot of people were raised vegetarian. So we want to see what foods you are open to, or where that desire to follow vegetarian or vegan diet is coming from. But we absolutely work with clients that follow a vegan and vegetarian diet. We just are more aware of certain needs that they might have by not following, by not having a mixed diet, or by following a vegetarian or vegan diet. So we absolutely keep those clients in mind, and we absolutely understand where they're coming from.
All right, so I did see one question pop up a few times in the question and answer. The webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel shortly, so you guys will have access to it and the slides. So I did want to say, I hope that you found this very helpful, and let us know if you'd like to learn more about the topic, programs, groups, or nutrition counseling services at Balance. Do not hesitate to book a complimentary call on our website at balancedtx.com/call, or call us directly at 212-645-6903. And yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for joining. And we are accepting new clients. I'm accepting new clients for counseling and coaching. So if you're interested, definitely reach out to us and we'd be happy to work together.